I must admit, I never really liked Battlefield 1, at least not until recently. Once you look past some of the quite frankly cursed weaponry, it is an enjoyable Battlefield game. One thing you can credit Battlefield 1 for is bringing World War 1 into the spotlight, giving it that similar sort of hype that the classic shooters of the 2000s did for World War 2. And as a result of this popularity, World War 1 reenactment is growing, even now, 10 years later. For those who are new here, this channel is dedicated to the Italian front of World War 1, mostly from the Austrian perspective. So today I thought it would be fun to see how the Austro-Hungarian army is depicted in Battlefield 1. So, let's dive right in. You join us here in the beautiful Monte Grappa. You know, before we start talking about the webbing, we do need to say the map design is very lovely. Very Italian.
It's certainly one of the most picturesque maps in the game, but I think there isn't one bad looking map in this game.
No. Definitely gets the correct vibe across.
Yes.
Now, onto the uniform. We're going to start off strong with a Berndorfer helmet. 140,000 of them made for the Austrian army. So, not everyone had them, but it is nice. You know, a bit of distinction. You know, when it comes to game design, you want distinction. So it is very nice on the assault class here with the stanchion. Very nice. Then we've got a balaclava, which it just looks modern to me. Something about it. I know it like feasibly could have existed at the time, but it's just something about it I don't like. I wish they went for something a bit thicker, maybe. I don't know. But yeah. And then of course you've probably already seen it. You can see it on my hands as well. This is a German tunic. They did go through the effort of putting collar tabs on it, but really, it's it's just sad. Sad, really. We're not going to talk about it for the rest of this video. I mean, German boots. But for the assault class, you can kind of let it slide, because the Austrians actually issued tall marching boots to their pioneers. And pioneers and assault, they kind of just fits for me. Now the webbing. The under skeleton of the webbing is pretty much the same for most of them, so we will just kind of skim past it. But what's unique to the assault class is the shotgun bandolier, the holster placement, and then there's just like straps everywhere. So you've got these weird cross straps. At first I thought it was a bread bag strap, just the way like the leather work is at the end, but then no, it's all leather, and it's just kind of crisscrossed, which is odd. And then, of course, wide straps. I mean, that was rare enough for the Germans, let alone them giving them to the Austrians. So that's a bit odd. Yeah, just random bits everywhere, really. Post-war water bottle. Trying to pass as a 1915. What's called a 1915 cover, but it's got a screw top like a 1907. Very weird. Austrian belt buckle for this one though, which is very nice, but then let down by Mauser pouches. German gas mask tin, that's not a problem though. They did get given loads of them. Why make your own when your mate has already put all this time and research into it? It's far cheaper. And then again, letting us back down is German shovels and bayonets. Yeah. Sorry to leave on a downer, but with the Berndorfer, I think is quite nice. It is just, I don't want to say it's lazy. I think it is just they didn't know, but we'll get onto that later. And of course, with his loadout, he does have the Gasser 1870. Is this one?
I believe so, around the...
Yeah, 1870, and then the Hell Regal, very cursed. And you've got a weird foregrip thing.
Yeah, so This I can kind of let go. I don't say that it's exactly right, but the developers aimed to get the rarer side of the First World War out there, and this is probably as rare as it gets. As far as we know, there are only 2 images that exist of this gun, one of which used like a light machine gun, one used kind of like an assault rifle in that sense. One of them did have a kind of foregrip thing, but it didn't particularly look like this too much. But yeah, I can't blame them, because not only did the developers not know, but realistically, not many people on the Earth know how this thing worked. To my knowledge, somebody found a magazine semi-recently of this gun, but the main body of the gun is still to be found, which is a shame, because if this was uncovered, then it would be fantastic to see. But as far as we know, only 2 images exist.
Yeah. Okay, so let's go on to the medic class. So now we have the medic class. It's much of the same, really. Berndorfer again, very nice. The Austrians did have Stahlhelms, but I'm actually glad they didn't use it, because as like the BF1 devs themselves said, they were going for more of a like the rare side of World War One. So I'm not going to complain about the Berndorfers, but everything else the same. Luckily, Austrian belt buckle, gummy mask bag. The Austrians did receive them. Same thing with the gas mask tins, and yeah, you probably would carry both. The Germans did it a lot. Whether or not the Austrians did it, I'm not entirely sure. The Austrians weren't as photogenic as the Germans. Well, I wouldn't say they weren't photogenic. They looked great in photos. Just a shame they didn't take more of them. And then an interesting tornister thing with a cover. I guess an extra pouch for medical supplies. Bolt cutters, which I find weird. Personally, I would have given the bolt cutters to the assault class, but it does add a bit of interest to the kit, as well as these crutches. That's pretty much it. Everything else is the same. Again, the same tall marching boots. I'm not sure if it was just for gameplay reasons. It's kind of more distinctive. But I mean, who looks at boots while playing a first-person shooter? Not me. I would have preferred if they had putties, but at least it's distinctive compared to the Italians. Yeah, that's pretty much it for the medic. Interesting scarf. Yes. You've got the Selbstlader. Is a Luger design, isn't it?
I believe so.
He did love his toggle locks, but I think it was actually mostly for pilots. Your bayonet is not hanging on the bayonet lug. Very, very. I would have thought, just speculation. I would have thought it would have just taken a normal German bayonet, if it did at all. I'm not even sure if it did.
Just a very quick correction. It's a Mauser. So
Mauser? Oh, right.
Mauser. Same as the Taschenpistole.
Oh, right.
So this is also a Mauser design.
Oh, yeah, it's the Mauser 1914, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I have seen them before.
So I tried to go with a more obscure loadout for this one.
Yeah, the Austrians weren't very much in a condition to be experimenting with self-loaders at the time. There might be one or two, but just not in the game.
So Finley, if you could do me the honours of moving us on to the support class, please.
On to my favourite class to talk about, because it's so cursed. But I will give the honours to Josh for talking about the helmet, because we spent ages looking for it. I think there were suggestions that it was American. They experimented with Century helmets, but Josh is the one who found it on Google. So what is this cursed helmet?
Yeah, as Finley explained, we were looking for it for a while. We thought that this was just a very strange helmet that the developers added in to look more support-like. Until we looked online, and it turns out it's an Italian bomber pilot helmet. This is the first I've seen of it, and there was only a couple claiming to be that. So take what I've said with a slight grain of salt. However, that is what it's being accredited as, so that's what we're going with. I'm assuming it's very rare, because I don't think I've seen any other piece of media use it. But yeah, I mean, in a sense, it's cool that they added it. It's just very strange that they added it for the wrong team.
Yes.
That's very peculiar.
Yes, it's very strange. There's a picture of it in a museum we can show up. It is a real helmet, which I was surprised to find out. I thought they just kind of made it up, but no. The next thing that's really interesting, and it's not interesting because it's wrong, it's interesting because it's right. They've given him an Austrian tornister. Yeah, I mean, it is good that they put some effort in some things. I just wish it transferred to the rest of the kit. It is very nice. I do love like the extra Protonen tornister underneath, like, you know, for extra cartridges. But everything else is just German. Other than this, the 1888 Mannlicher pouch. But they've not attached it to the belt. It's just kind of dangling beneath the Mauser ones, which is a very interesting design choice. And to go on from that, they've got the Austrian buckle in the game, but they didn't go for a Prussian buckle, the usual German buckle. They used the Bavarian belt buckle. If you go to your pistol, please, Josh. Just so it's more visible. Oh, you're standing to the side. Yeah. Oh, mate, you're putting your hand over it. Right. Yeah, it's the Bavarian belt buckle, which is so strange. Such an interesting choice. And
considering that we have previously seen the Austrian belt buckle, it doesn't make any sense. In fact, you know that of course the Austrians and the Bavarians are similar people. That doesn't quite excuse them having the same uniform.
Yeah. To be fair, I'm sure someone will scream at you in the comments for saying they are similar. But having been to both places, yeah, they are. Anyway, I mean, of course, the last bit of truly cursedness, we'll put an image as well of a real life one that somebody has made. History bunker. Is this? We'll wait for this plane to pass. Is this cursed? It's like what if a 1907 tunic was made into a greatcoat, but then it's like kind of given like the M15 cuffs, but instead of having a map pocket, they just put a liner, like piping on it. So weird, so incredibly weird. This is.
I'm sure that some young reenactor has gotten confused and accidentally bought this greatcoat thinking it was real.
Yeah, I mean, we'll post the listing. Luckily, they did say BF1 inspired, but whether or not they should be selling it, I don't know. Maybe some people reenact BF1. But interesting.
If you could.
Yeah, sorry. Before we do that, yeah, as I said, this is my favourite class to talk about. It's probably one of my favourite classes in the game. Yes. Sorry, we need to talk about your guns as well. Again, another thing that's a favourite for me about this class is the guns it gets. We've gone for the Madsen. It's Danish designed, but it was used by the Austrians. Very fun in this game. You would have seen me using it in some gameplay clips earlier. And then your pistol. Again, it's a stripper clip loading pistol. The 1912 Steyr. Very lovely. If you can demonstrate reloading, in fact maybe not while there's the tank there, just in case he spots us. The joys of having to use public servers, but I'm not paying for a server for a one-off video.
One thing I will mention, which unfortunately you can't see on the recording, is when you fire and reload, it has the very realistic thing where the bullets spring out, so you can put another stripper clip in. It's a horrendous waste of bullets, but thankfully, since this is a game, it doesn't matter.
Well, one of our group members has a DIAC that does it, and trying to find all the bullets after you've sprayed them out all over the table is always enjoyable.
It can be a nightmare.
Alright, next kit.
So if we can...
Much of this is the same. Bavarian belt buckle. A binocular case. Neither of our 4 source books, German or Austrian, mentions anything about binoculars. You could just say they're the private purchase, but I'm not too sure what they used to base this one off of. 1888 pouches, 2 of them this time, but again, just hanging off the bottom of the Mauser pouches for no reason. So weird. And then a rifle bandolier, which is odd because it is a charger loading rifle, so you wouldn't really load it 1 bullet at the time. Cursed 1907 greatcoat, and then the cap. They've not modelled in the pinch, which is very sad. Very sad indeed. If he was in my group, I'd be having words. Interestingly, sorry, can you get your M95 back out again? I mean, you can see it on my one, but you can see it on here. They've gone for a cavalry sling setup on the full-length rifle. I know like the carbine version of the M95 and the full length do look similar, other than obviously their length, but it is an interesting mistake to make. Yeah, and then of course it's got the sawback German bayonet for some reason. I say of course, but why would it have that? It's very weird. And then it just looks like they've glued a barrel ring onto it. But I do love this gun because I own one. I just love playing with it. It's a very nice gun. And then of course this pistol is the Frommer Stop, Hungarian design. Very ahead of its time, very modern. The only thing that they did differently that nobody does nowadays is they put the return spring on top. But yeah, very nice. And I think that is everything in terms of kits. That is the.
Of course, there are kits such as tanker kits, cavalry kits, pilot kits. But we won't be looking at those today.
I believe they are copy pasted.
They're very much the same. Yeah, they're very much the same.
They're copy pasted from the Germans. But before we go on the spot, 1 word or 2 words. I'll give you 2 words. How would you describe the Austrian kit in this game?
I would have to say, in 2 words, I would say missed opportunity. I think, unfortunately, the developers either didn't know, which is perfectly understandable if they didn't. This game came out pre-centenary or during the centenary years, where not much knowledge of the First World War was really brought to light. Or the option, which I don't like thinking, but is also a possibility, that they got lazy. It's a big possibility that they assumed that, similar to World War II, the Austrians and Germans were very much similar, which of course is not the case. As you can see on screen, in the early years of the war, the Austrians had a very lovely blue uniform. And even in the later years of the war, when the Austrians eventually turned to grey, the uniforms were still very different. Of course, things like the Burndorfer are nice to see, but when the Austrian uniform is so identifiable and, in my opinion, quite iconic to the First World War, it's a shame that in the largest World War I game to arguably ever exist, it's a shame not to see it.
Yeah, pretty much stole my sandwiches. So my 2 words would be missed opportunity. Don't think anyone said that yet. But no, mine is actually a missed opportunity for a different reason. So the Americans in this game have the same problem where they just copy the British. So later in the war, the German and the Austrian uniforms kind of converge. So they would have seen pictures, they would have seen a style helm, and then they would have not having like that reenactor's eye where you're like constantly looking at random obscure details. To the average layman, they just think, oh yeah, it's the same, so we'll just continue on with that. The same thing happened with the Americans in this game, but they went back and changed them, and the same with the Ottomans. And my missed opportunity moment is, they made their mistake, but I just wish they went back and just tweaked it. They had the models, they had the bits and bobs to like actually make it into good kit. As I say, they've got the correct belt buckles on some of the classes. They've got the correct pouches on some of the classes, but they've got them sat underneath the wrong ones, which is very weird.
Who knows? There's still time before Battlefield 6.
Yeah. I mean, this game is still very popular, but no. As long as, at least from a distance, if I'm like stood back here.
I think with a couple of the classes, with a couple of the classes like the recon / sniper, the cap does certainly help, and so does the Burndorfer.
Yeah.
It's just they were so close to be able to making something truly great, and they just missed the mark, unfortunately.
As we say, before Battlefield 1, I mentioned in the intro, it's done so much for World War One reenacting, but also studying World War One as a whole. It's probably more of a symptom of the centenary, but after 2018, there was just a massive flood of information coming out about World War One. Some stuff we're still trying to decipher to this day. So, as much as we like to clown on Battlefield, they did what they could with what they had at the time, and they got the vibe right. They got the vibe. They did an alright job.
Yeah.
That was the Austro-Hungarian army in Battlefield 1. This is something that's a bit different. We might do this again. We're thinking of doing a Sonzo, which is a lot more to unpack. There's a lot more customization options, but we are more than happy to do that. We have an Instagram and a Facebook if you want to see some pictures of us doing our events and all that, as well as a website that we'll put in the description. And I'd also like to say thank you guys for 200 subscribers. It's not a huge milestone, but it is a milestone, and it is fun watching the goofy number go up, and thank you guys for doing that. So that is all we have time for today. Thank you very much, and goodbye.